Yes. And I share the screen, and that will be the presentation. And we go to the beginning. And here we go. Yeah, so so today's presentation is neuroscience-based coaching in creation of meaningful life. And we're gonna talk about how to make your brain your best friend. And brain, what we know about the brain, and the president of the Allen Institute for Brain Science said that we don't even understand the brain of a worm. And the brain of a worm has only 302 neurons and 7,000 connections, while human brain has 86 billion neurons and estimated 100 trillion connections. So what we know is really, really little. And if you look at this beautiful picture of the beach, and imagine that all this sand is what is known about the brain now, you can also think how much more there is sand on Earth, and that is what not researched yet about brain. And you can look at the universe above you. There is so much sand in the universe that is even impossible to comprehend. And what we do today, you see there is a little loop. We take 1 grain of sand of the knowledge that is known, and we try to touch it today. So, but there is a lot more to learn. So what we're going to do today, we will learn briefly about the evolution, structure, and function of the triune brain, some of the brain default programs, how to use brain's power in your favor, and then we will have a coaching session to touch your mission. So a few words about myself. My name is Stacey Pierce. I'm Korean expat, ACC coach, and NLP practitioner. And some boring but useful facts about me. I'm 42 years old, Ukrainian Dutch, founder of ACA Coaching. I have 15 years experience of business owner. I worked with 100 different cultures. I have masters in financial management. I worked in leasing industry, IT, business events, consulting, and coaching. So what gives me lots of energy and love? It's my son. You can see the picture of us. My work, I'm very passionate about it. Passionate people, beauty, stand-up paddle, traveling, learning new things, and human nature. My purpose is helping others pursue their purpose and live a full, meaningful life. And my values are fulfillment, humanity, freedom, intelligence, new experiences. I also like to have fun. I like to care and support. Family and friends are very important for me. And at the end, we all do it for love. So love is on top of everything. So about the triune brain, this is the evolution of brain. So if you look, there are 3 parts of brain. They were developed in the different times. So the white part here, it's a reptilian brain. It is the oldest part. It counts 100 to 500 million years, and its main function is, let's say, controlling our biological functions. For instance, when we feel hungry, the brain sends signals. Okay, you feel hungry, or it controls heartbeat, sweating, breathing, everything. And this part of the brain is can be barely controlled by us. So we can only learn to control a little bit the number of heartbeats in a minute, but we can't switch the heartbeat itself, or we can't stop breathing. This is controlled by reptilian brain, and it's a really strong function. So then the limbic system, this is the newer part. It is also called a mammalian brain. This extension of the brain we've got 50 to 150 million years ago. And this part of the brain controls emotions, memory, habits, and center of fear. So all our automatical subconscious parts are stored in the limbic system. And the neocortex, this is the newest extension, which is marked with orange color. It is really, really young. It's only from 100,000 to 1 million years old. And this is what differs us from other animals. Neocortex main function is cognitive function. So it's our ability to analyze, think, plan, speech, memorize. So this is all controlled by neocortex. And on this slide, like on the right part, you can check it later. I will send you the presentation so you can check the main functions. And on the left part, on the blue part of the presentation, there are some names that we will be using later in the presentation. It's good to remember them. So prefrontal cortex, this is the part of the neocortex, and we call it a director. So that's what we think that this part of brain decides. We think that this is a director. And then we've got the limbic system, which is also the other word, a mammalian brain. It is an executor, as I said, this part that stores memories, emotions, our habits. Amygdala is a fear center, and it has an amazing function. When amygdala detects a threat, all the other parts of brain are shut down. So it has a veto. So whenever there is a threat, it says, okay, I take control over. Then we've got striatum. It's a place where all the conditioned reflexes are stored. So it's all our good and bad habits are there. Hippocampus, it transfers short-term memory to long-term memory, and cingulate cortex processes emotions and regulates behavior. So when we do coaching works with mainly with these parts of the brain, but of course with other ones. Okay, so that was the most difficult part of the presentation. Now we go to the simple one. So when we look at the hierarchy of brain, we see this beautiful picture. So our director, our newest part of brain, the prefrontal cortex, is this baby, this beautiful baby on the left. So he thinks that he's a director, but in fact he tries to control the limbic system, which is actually as big as gorilla, and also he controls the reptilian brain, which is a dragon. So our life is managed by limbic system and reptilian brain mainly. So 90 to 95% of what we do because our limbic system and reptilian brain decides so. But we tend to think that this beautiful little baby controls all of them. So this is really first important part of the presentation to remember that even when we want to take control over our life, we have to deal with a huge gorilla, with a big dragon, and the one who is controlling them is just a little baby. Because yeah, remember the neocortex is only 100,000 to 1 million years old compared to the other ones. It's very young. So why is that? It's because the main function of our brain is survival, and it's not our happiness. So if you look back in time and like thousands years ago, people only turned like 20 to 30 years old, and their main function was survival. So we had to find enough food to rescue ourselves from wild animals, reproduce ourselves, and if we reached 30 years old and we had some children, then brain said, yes, I did my job. And people didn't live longer lives. So talking about happiness was really not on the table. So there was not such a thing like happiness. So how about the meaningful life? Because we all now want a meaningful life. So creating life of our dreams is our own responsibility, because it's not our default program of the brain. So I will talk about some of the brain default functions. They are not linked to each other, but they're important to know when we try to create a life that we want, yeah, the meaningful life. So firstly, what's important to know? What scares us has more power over us than what we like. And then the second, motivation away from is stronger than motivation towards. Have you heard about motivation away from and towards? I think you're muted.
Yes, yes.
Yeah? Okay, good. So great. Then I will not go into details, but I described it here with these two pictures. One is the lion, probably hungry and angry lion, and $10,000. So just imagine that you are somewhere enjoying your walk, and then you see this lion approaching you, but it has $10,000 tied to its neck. So if you wait for the lion to come close to you, you might be able to pick up this $10,000, or he might eat you. So what will happen? For sure, you will run away. You will be just not able to stay and wait. This means that what scares us or motivation away from, so avoid the danger, is always stronger than motivation towards. And so if there is a procrastination, for instance, we want to do something really badly. We want to, I don't know, start doing sports because it's really good for us. Yeah, we've got the motivation towards we will get a beautiful body or we will get healthier. But if we are not doing it and procrastinating, there is probably a threat that is always stronger than the benefit. So you remember, amygdala takes over. If there is a threat, amygdala switches off all other parts of the brain. So what we can do to anyways move forward is to use our prefrontal neocortex. Remember the baby. So it can move us forward, but its resources are extremely limited because that baby has to control the harila, because the harila has this amygdala center, the fear center. Another fact about default program of the brain is concentration on a task or concentration on emotions are alternative modes. So when we concentrate on a task, for instance, you want to start your own business and you make a business plan. So you use your cognitive abilities. So you use your prefrontal cortex. You are then using your task positive network. But if you are then interrupted and some emotions are caused, for instance, someone called you had a fight with, so then you switch to a default mode network and it switches the task positive network. So it's either one or another. You just can't use them both. In other words, if you go back to the lion, if you just imagine that it approached you, you decided, your brain decided to run away, you run away, and then you're still in this emotional mode and someone comes to you and says, okay, so how would you like to spend your next holidays? This requires your cognitive thinking. You say, yeah, just disappear. I'm not in the mood to talk about it. So you first need to switch off this default mode network when you're in emotions and switch to the task positive network. Then threat, real or imaginative, activates limbic system and shuts neocortex. So I'm repeating more or less all the same, but it's really important to know that this kind of lions, real, imaginative, the lion can be a manager that we are preparing to have a difficult talk to. It can be talking on public. It can be anything that fears us. This is our own lions. So whenever there is a lion in our attention, then limbic system is activated and the neocortex is shut down. Also, this is, I pay your attention, this is probably the second most important takeaway from this presentation, is that your focus will determine the information your brain receives, and it is followed by the reaction. So what it means? It means that what you give your attention for, that becomes your nature and your life. And I will give an example. For instance, you are speaking publicly in front of 100 people and you look at someone who is cheering you up, who is friendly to you. So you focus on friendliness. Your brain receives information. Oh, so people receive me friendly and positively, and it causes certain reactions based on the facts that come into your brain. So you think, oh, it's going well, so I can continue. I can shine even better. I can speak better. I can relax. But then next to this person is someone standing who is negatively receiving the presentation. And then you switch your attention to this person and you see this grumpy face and like nagging, etc. So then your brain starts receiving information. Oh, I'm not doing well. So there is a negative reaction. So the response brain will give would be completely different than in the first case. So focus and attention really determines our life. So is this clear? Because this is really, really important to understand that our attention determines how we will respond and at the end, what life we will get.
It is very clear.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so as a result of the previous slide of what we just have learned, that everything what you have now is created by you. And why is that? So our brain runs the most trained or strong neural network. So another term, neural network, it is stored, remember, in a part that is responsible for our habits. So at some point we had a trigger, there was a response and a behavior, and we repeated it a few times, and it became a neural network. And which network we trained most often, that becomes our nature, that becomes our life. For instance, if we always used to choose for safe jobs, and we've done it throughout 20 years of our career, it will be very, very difficult to switch to a new business, because having safe job it's a created very strong neural network. And if you want to switch this habit or our life, we need to have a lot of time and energy. But our brains need is to save time and energy, because remember, neocortex is just a baby. It requires lots of resources. It's literally a baby. It needs to sleep and eat very, very often and rest a lot. So our brain cannot let our body consume this much energy. That's why it puts everything on a energy saving mode. So when we think, okay, I'll take control over my habits, I will anyways push myself to change my life and start a business, and we might start doing it. But at one point, the resources will be over, and the brain will switch to a energy saving mode, to a limbic system, and we will again start running the most strong neural network. So what we do then, we then say, no, I will anyways do it, but the will is not enough here. If we use our neocortex to push ourselves to do what we cannot do, because there is a stronger neural network, we might only cause burnouts or even depressions if we push too hard. So what we need to use our neocortex for is to reprogram our automatic reactions. So not to push ourselves like you can do it, but to reprogramming, to use smartly our neocortex. So what we need to do is changing our worldview requires reprogramming our brain. We create a new neural network that will bring you to the desirable place and let it work for a while until it becomes automatic. That's it. It is easier said than done, but this is what we can use this modern extension of our brain. And coaching is one of the best tools for it. So here's some brain secrets. How we can use the cortex to reprogram our brain. So we have to find a new value. A new value will bring a new belief for us. For instance, why people you often have a safe job, stable job, because it's stability. And if you go to your own business, it is freedom, but freedom contains the threat. It is you might not have enough clients, you might not earn enough. For your brain, it's poverty, and for your brain, poverty means death. So it's really a huge threat for your brain. So there is a very, very dominant threat and very dominant value, stability or safety for your brain, and it will always choose for that, unless you find a new really great value for you in the new business, and this value will create new beliefs. For instance, okay, new business, it's a freedom to be myself, it's a freedom to pursue my purpose. I can help people or humanity or the world to become this and that, and out of that freedom there will be a huge motivational function created in your brain that will help you reprogram your brain. Then priorities. It's also very important to know this brain secret. I don't know if you've heard or not, there is a way to prioritize based on urgency and importance. Have you heard about it? Yeah, so when you have a list of tasks, you think, okay, you prioritize which task is urgent, not urgent, and which one is important and not important. And then you will have 4 blocks. And usually we do what is urgent and important first. That's out of the question. What's not urgent and not important, we hardly ever do. So it's at the end of the list. And then we have the middle. We have urgent, not important, and not urgent and important. And what is often in urgent and not important tasks? For instance, call a friend because I promised to call her tonight. Bake a cake because guests are coming tonight and I have to give them a nice homemade cake. It's all, or check Facebook because I have posts and probably there are some reactions there. So it's quite urgent. There are already reactions waiting for me. And what is often in not urgent but important things, create a business plan for my new business, create a new habit that will really change my life. Yeah, so really important things that can be done today, tomorrow, in a month, or in a year. It will not change and we will not create a big difference as if it started today or tomorrow. So there is no urgency, but they're very important. If we anyway start doing them today, it will really change our life. So it's important to know that urgency always goes above importance for our brain. So if you want something to be done, make it urgent. Why? Because only then the brain will see the motivation. So it will say, hey, I will like urgency is really creates the reward, which is dopamine. You need to see the immediate reward. Like, for instance, baking a cake gives you an immediate reward. Firstly, you think about baking a cake. I will bake a cake. Your brain thinks, oh, it's easy to do. It's a very short task. I've done it before. I know I can bake a great cake. So I know that in 2 hours or in 4 hours, there will be a good result. Boom, dopamine. You get energy, you go to the kitchen, you bake the cake, you baked it, there is a result, another portion of dopamine. And then your guests come and you put the cake on the table and they try it and say, oh, wow, it's so tasty. And then another portion of dopamine. So 3 times motivation, bam, bam, bam. That's why you bake the cake. And now imagine you are starting your own business. Where is the dopamine? Will I be able to do it? Is it difficult? Oh my goodness, it will take me 1 year long. So there is no room for dopamine to be released in the blood system. So we really need to find the way to get this reward, the dopamine. So what we do, for instance, we don't make a task to start a new business, but we, for instance, plan, I will write 3 points of a business plan today. And your brain thinks, can I do it? Yes, I can. Dopamine. And then you start doing. Your goal was to write down the 3 points. You finished? Did you reach your goal? Yes, dopamine. And if you like the business plan, you can show it to someone, then you can again get another reward. So that's how you actually push yourself forward by creating reward for your brain. And resources, it's very important to know that, remember that baby, the neocortex, its resources are very limited. And prefrontal cortex can only work 1 hour, 15 minutes max at a time. I will explain what it means. There are things that feed our prefrontal neocortex. If this all works, it can work 1 hour, 15 minutes. If one of these points is missing, forget about 1 hour, 15 minutes. It can be 20 minutes, 30 minutes, but really little. So drink water. Our brain is really, really sensitive for water. For the level of water in our body. Sleep at least 8 hours every day. If you missed a night, don't count on your neocortex today. Sleep the next night, and then tomorrow you might be able to use your cognitive functions. Consume enough carbs. I put here long carbs because it gives energy in the long run, but your brain is actually, it doesn't care, it needs sugar. Whether it's candy or a good carb, long carb, it doesn't matter. So it needs sugar. Then fresh air. Our brain is really, really sensitive for the level of oxygen. So ventilate the room where you work. Physical activity will also create ventilation and supply of the oxygen. And laughter and pleasant emotions are very important because they create the hormonal background without which your brain cannot work. And then if this is all in, your brain is fully resourceful. There are also things that drain energy from your brain. So avoid these things. So work no longer than 1 hour, 15 minutes. You might even notice it sometimes that you say, okay, I will write again a business plan. Yeah, you book 2 or 3 hours for this task, and in a while you think, oh my goodness, I can't think anymore. It's just not working. I have no inspiration. So it means that your prefrontal neocortex is off. It used all the resources and it's not working anymore. So don't push yourself. Just stop. Take a break. 1 hour. Go for a walk. There is I can make another presentation about this topic, but what's most important to know now that work never no longer than 1 hour, 15 minutes. Always make a break. Then do one thing at a time. So for instance, you plan to write a business plan, book 1 hour, 1 hour, 15 minutes, and then shut off your phone, close the door, make sure that no one bothers you, and just concentrate on this. Because if every time, like for instance, you write a business plan and then you check the email and then someone calls you, switching from different networks, remember, like you can do only one thing at a time. So you either write a business plan, or you talk to a friend, or you eat, or like your brain can only concentrate on one task, but switching from task drains lots of energy. So if you switch over, then don't count on 1 hour, 15 minutes. Then divide the task into small, easy to accomplish pieces of work. I gave an example earlier with how to write the business plan, how to plan like not starting a business, but writing 3 points of the business plan. This is what I mean. And focus on the task and not the result. Again, that was an example that the task is to write 3 points from a business plan, and the result is starting a successful business. The result is just a criteria whether what we've done, the task, were successful or not. We can only control the task. We can never control the result. Just this is really important to remember, to understand. For instance, you want to lose 10 kilos. Your goal, the result, is become 10 kilos lighter, but you can't control it. What you can control is what you eat, how often you sport, how much you sleep. This is in your control. And the result is only the criteria whether you are doing things right or wrong. Is this clear at this moment?
It's very clear.
Okay, good. And 5, make it urgent. Yeah, for instance, losing 10 kilos, yeah, it's a great idea, but it is not it cannot be urgent at all. But for instance, you can make it urgent by we are planning the tasks. For instance, I implement new diet, new way of eating, and I have to do it before I go on holidays, and I go on holidays in 3 weeks. So you create the urgency, and that's how you will keep your brain resourceful. So, and how coaching actually helps in creating the meaningful life, or in other words, new neural networks. And in coaching, we create a mission and values. So it will be our compass why. Then during the coaching sessions, we help clients to create these strategies, and these strategies are often agile. We also help to think through that there is not one strategy to achieve the result that we want. But if we are talking about the purpose or meaningful life, we usually think that it is like getting married, that it's one in a lifetime. We find the job of our dreams and it's once and forever. No, it's more like going on holidays. We go this year to this destination, next year to another destination, and then to another destination. We change, the circumstances change, the world changes. So we are constantly changing and adjusting our needs, our likes with world's requirements, and that's how we move towards our meaningful life. So coaching helps to think through these strategies and be agile and flexible. Then coaching helps to detect threats and fears and to dismantle limiting beliefs. Coaching helps to normalize. For instance, if you start a new business and you've never done it before, it's normal to make mistakes. It's normal to be slower than people who run this business for 5 or 10 years. So coaching again helps to think it through and normalize. Coaching helps to concentrate on the process, not results. And remember, it's very important for motivation. Coaching helps to find resources and support system to move forward, and coaching helps to create reward system and to stay accountable. And some almost last tips and tricks from this presentation. So just to remember, when you build a new network, and if you're tired or stressed in a while, you might fall back into your old neural network, and you think, oh my goodness, I'm still the same person. I've done so much, so many efforts for nothing. No, it's not like that. It's just probably you're tired or stressed and you have to sleep, and then you'll be back to your new neural network. Change is pain. It's a familiar saying. So how it works, we have a trigger. This trigger causes an action, and then there is a reward. So at the beginning, a trigger, like we might have the same trigger, but we need to create the new action and a new reward. And this is really painful and difficult at the beginning, but it is only at the beginning, because in a while reward will not be needed. So it will go to a striatum and it will be repeated over and over again. So change is pain only at the beginning. It's also good to remember, and it's quite short. And I might add that some changes happen really quickly, like in a day or two. Some require a few weeks. Most of the changes require a few months. And you can change your life, like really change your life completely in 2 or 3 years. This has to do with the fact that we will completely reprogram our brain from the old neural networks to the new neural networks that we need to have a new life. Urgency is dopamine, really important to remember. No optimism, no dopamine. It is also one trick of our brain. So more optimistic people have more rewards, so they dare more. And there is a backside of the optimism, because when we are optimistic, we plan too optimistically. So we can think, oh, I'll start the business in half a year, but it will always be more too optimistic. So you will always need like not half a year, but a year, for instance. And then limbic system on, neocortex off. That's also like a rule. And breathing, grounding, meditation, mindfulness, these techniques calm amygdala down. So practicing it every day will lower the stress level and will also lower the number of stress hormones that break our neocortex. And the last slide, this is the picture from the internet, but it's a good reminder. So these are the hormones, the good hormones that we need in our blood system to create a good environment for our brain to work. So dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphin. And here the ideas what to do regularly, not once in a month, not once in a year, but regularly we have to do that. And that would be dopamine, completing a task, doing self-care activities, eating food, celebrating little wins, really important daily. Oxytocin, love hormone, playing with a dog, a baby, hugging with friends, spending time with friends, giving compliments, belonging to the group. Serotonin, it's a mood stabilizer, very good to do sports, meditate, walk, being in the sun. And endorphin, it's a painkiller, it's laughter, essential oils, watching a comedy, dark chocolate, and exercising. So our responsibility is to do this, if not daily, but weekly, just to make sure that we are full of these positive hormones. And that was the last slide for today. And thank you very much. You can review me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Google if you like the presentation, or book a session. And yeah, what can we do for you now to bring value to your life? And yeah, thank you very much for listening. I will stop the presentation now, and you can ask questions at the end of it.